This is my story from 2 years ago. Good afternoon. So today I am going to totally throw off my numbers, and I'm going to tell you pretty much my story from 2018. 2018 was a big change in my life. I was working 2 jobs at the same time, and I was putting in about, I'd say about 84 hours a week, working both jobs. So, adding that up, I was getting about, 4 hours of sleep a night. And then, of course, I did make sure that I got at least one day off from both jobs. So my story really starts on January 26, 2018. I was coming home from my bar shift. I had just finished my bar management, and, I started work at 3 that afternoon, which was after a full day shift from my second job. But it was a drive home that really kind of almost killed me, literally. Coming home on that night, I had set my cruise control on at 80 miles an hour, I'd say about 10, 15 miles away from home, and I fell asleep behind the wheel. I had flipped my car 200 yards off of the interstate. Now, if you can imagine that, 200 yards is 2 football fields, and that's how far my car was off the interstate. They actually had problems trying to get my car out of the field I was in because it was so far. I had flipped my car. I did not roll it. I flipped it, so it went head over end. The passenger side didn't really get damaged very much. Neither did the driver's side doorways. But the front end and the back end were totally crushed in. I woke up to my OnStar person telling me, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Is there something we can do?" And I didn't quite know what was going on. I had no idea where I was at. Didn't know why the car was stopped. And I had to actually pull my head from the airbag and the window. So if you can imagine, the window was here and the airbag came down right here. So my head was wedged between the airbag and the window. I was wearing my seatbelt, and I believe that really stabilized my body to where it did not get as much damage as what actually came to me. So going on, I woke up. I was wearing glasses that time, and it's the weirdest thing because my glasses had flown off, so I couldn't really see anything. But for some reason, I had a crystal clear look at where my phone was, which was on the passenger side floor. When I went down to grab it and felt this sharp pain in my lower back. That's when I kind of knew that something was wrong. So I felt my legs, and my legs were totally numb. My first instinct was, oh my gosh, I am paralyzed and I can't move. I mean, obviously I was moving my upper body and my arms, but I was like, okay, I'm paralyzed from the waist down. So I knew that I wasn't paralyzed because I could wiggle my toes, but I could not feel my legs whatsoever. So I told the guy that was talking to me, I was like, no, I think I have injured my back. I can't feel my legs. I do need help. So a lot of this is going to be blurred and it's going to be kind of skipped because I don't remember much. But I do remember was after After I said, no, I can't feel my legs, it was almost like instantaneously there was ambulance and police officers right next to the car. I don't know how long it took them to get there. I don't remember that, so I'm not for sure how long I was actually in the field when they actually got there. So after they got there, the police had to actually cut the airbag to actually get to me. And the patrol person, I believe it was the state patrol, he pretty much looked over me and was like, okay, I don't think you're drinking. It doesn't smell like you have any alcohol in your breath, which I don't drink when I'm working at all. So we're not going to give you a ticket. We're not going to citate you. Which at that time, I was like, well, like I'm going to worry about that right now because I've got other things to worry about. But I was very grateful that I was not cited. After that, it was another blur, and I woke up in the ambulance. It was cold out because it was in January here in Colorado. And I was wearing a Ross puffy vest, and then underneath that was my Calvin Klein jacket, a zip-up jacket. And the thing that I remember most about that was the technician said, oh, let's save the vest because it looks too nice to cut. But they ended up cutting my more expensive outerwear. I remember that like crystal clear. I was just like, oh, little do you know. And then I started shaking. I started getting really, really cold. And I started shaking. And then I heard the technician say, oh, he's going into shock. And then I was out. I don't remember anything until I woke up in the emergency room. When I was in the emergency room, they asked me if I had somebody to call. And I was like, I told them, yes, let me call my sister. And that's who you've seen in my previous videos. And so I ended up calling my sister. And the first thing I told her was that she needed to go to my apartment to actually let my dog out, because she's been in there for 13 hours, and she needed to go. I didn't think this was going to be this difficult. So I told her to actually go let my dog out, because Belle, who I take on my hikes, she needed to be let out because she's been in the apartment for a good, 13 hours. And so I told her that I was in a car accident. I think I have a spinal cord injury. I was at Memorial Hospital downtown. That's all I really remember of that conversation. So after we hung up, the technician was like, hey, you have a pretty bad cut on the back of your head, and we need to go ahead and get that stapled. So they ended up putting 5 staples in the back of my head to close that wound up. They ended up putting 3 in, and I didn't feel those 3, but the last 2 I did feel them actually staple the back of my head shut. So that was very interesting. After that, I don't remember anything else until I was actually in ICU. And I remember the doctor coming in and saying, okay, you do have a fracture. You fractured your L2 vertebrae, which is the lower back, and it was fractured into 4 pieces. One of the pieces was actually pressing into my spinal cord, which now I know why my legs went numb. It didn't sever it. I remember signing some paperwork because the doctor said that if I don't have the surgery done now, then they may have to do it when I'm 60 years old. From what my sister had said, she told me this later, that the doctor gave me the option to do surgery and then be pretty much bedridden for about 2 months with physical therapy and everything like that, or not to do surgery and be in the hospital for 3 months and I wouldn't be able to move at all. So I obviously elected to do the surgery because, you know, I was pretty well built, and I think that had a lot to do with kind of stabilizing my body as well. At least that's what the doctors were saying. So I went into surgery and they put 2 rods and 8 screws into my back, and that actually stabilized my back, and it started the fusion portion of my whole lower back. So now, because of that surgery, I am unable to actually roll the lower portion of my back. I can't like slouch over. I can slouch over from the shoulders, but I can't slouch over. I believe the surgery was, I believe it took about 8 to 9 hours to do the surgery. I don't remember much of anything after the surgery. I do remember them saying, okay, you know, we're gonna have to try to get you up and walking. And this was just a couple of days after the surgery. I'm like, I don't want to push it. I ended up getting up and trying to walk. They had a back brace. I did get a back brace that we had to put on every time. And I pretty much had to wear that 24 hours a day, not laying in bed. So I actually got up. I actually stood on my feet, and you know, it was rough at the beginning. But I stood on my feet and I was very, very slowly moving. They sent me up to the rehab floor. I was on the rehab floor for, I want to say 1, maybe 2 days. And all of a sudden I felt this really sharp pain in my sides. I called the nurse and I was like, I'm having some really sharp pains in my side. Can I get some more medication? Well, at this time, they were trying to do a Tylenol drip for me. And they told me that they can give me another press of Tylenol drip, but they couldn't do any sort of like oxy, which I was on down in ICU. But they couldn't give me oxycodone until the doctor actually approved it. So this was probably about a week after my initial accident. So what had happened was that this pain that I felt on my back and that was wrapping around to my sides, it had started to really blow up my stomach area. I was in so much pain. I mean, I think that was one of the most painful nights that I've had in the hospital. And what had happened was my spleen had ruptured, and all that fluid was just coming into my abdomen area, and it had started filling it up. That's all I remember from that. I must have passed out from the pain, I don't know, but I don't remember anything else until the next morning when they took me down to get an MRI. And on my way up, the doctor had actually beat me upstairs to my room and told me, you need to get him downstairs right now. We need to do an emergency surgery to fix his spleen. So they rushed me downstairs and they ended up coiling off my spleen. They coiled off about 1/4 of my spleen. Now they gave me the option. They gave me the option to either take it out, take my spleen out, or to actually do the surgery and just cut, not really cut, but lose 1/4 of my spleen and keep 3/4 of my spleen. So they gave me the option, take it out or keep it in. If they took it out, I would have to go in twice a year to get all of my injections for the rest of my life. And I did not want to do that. So I opted in just to do the surgery. So they rushed me down and coiled off my spleen. They did not have to cut into me. They did it through a major vein in my leg, and I was awake for the entire surgery, and I remember this. And so they went through the major artery in my vein to get to my spleen, and it was just this little Dremel tool that had a wire that pinched the spleen and then just twist. And then he came out, grabbed another one, went back in, pinch, twist. He did 8 of those. And I was awake for the whole thing. I did not feel anything because I'm still numb from my waist down to my knees. So I didn't feel any of that, which is a good thing. So after that, I went into ICU again for probably a good 3 days just to make sure that I was okay. But they were kind of worried about the fluid that had gone into my abdomen. And it was making it very difficult for me to breathe. So they ended up putting in a needle into my chest area. When they did that, they had pulled out about 1 liter of this dark liquid. And that was probably drained for maybe an hour. So they're like, okay, we're gonna see how that works. If it does not work, then we're gonna have to put in a chest tube. So I went back up to rehab to start my rehab again. And a couple days later, they came back still having a lot of pain and a lot of trouble breathing. They did another scan and they noticed that there was still liquid in my abdomen. So they ended up putting a chest tube in. If you've ever had a chest tube, it is probably the most painful thing you can go through. They slit me right under my pec on the side. They did a very small, probably 1-inch slit right then, and they put this tube, I'd say it's probably about that. I don't know if you can see that, but probably about that thick around, and they just shove it in and they push it all the way down. And that actually started draining a lot of this fluid that was in my abdomen. So I had the chest tube in for, I'd say for about a week. That obviously really affected my rehab. Every time I moved or every time somebody bumped into that chest tube, it would move and it would hurt insanely. It was so painful. So I didn't do a whole lot of rehab. They ended up just kind of letting me kind of just sit there. I did some in-bed exercises to try to keep my muscles kind of working. The day came for them to literally rip out that chest tube. It was the most painful procedure I have ever gone through. The nurse kind of told me, okay, this is what we're gonna do. She came in, my sister was there, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna count to 3, and then I'm just gonna pull it out. So, of course, they started the countdown, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna start 3, 2. When she hit 2, she just automatically pulled it out. Like I said, the most painful experience I've ever had. But once she pulled that out, it was like I can finally breathe. It did affect my breathing overall. But I'm glad that happened, to get all that liquid out. I'm gonna do a quick cut in and let you know about my weight loss. So I want to show you a before and after picture of me. So in this picture, I was about 210 pounds, and in this picture, I am about 160 pounds. So I lost about 50 pounds in the hospital. The next 6 weeks, I was up in rehab, and I had to relearn how to walk. I couldn't touch my toes just because of the rods and screws in my back, so I couldn't roll down to touch my toes. I had to relearn how to dress. I had to relearn how to put my socks and shoes on. Just the smallest things that people take for granted and people just know how to do. I had to relearn how to do this. I had to relearn how to climb stairs. I had to, any sort of mobility, I had to relearn how to do. So they started me out in a wheelchair, just kind of moving my legs down the hall and back, and then down the hall and back, which was, again, at that time, very, very difficult for me to do. Once I actually stood on my feet, they switched me over to a walker. And you really don't know how difficult it is to walk. So just the whole idea of, you know, going heel to toe. I mean, we don't think of that. It's just an automatic thing. But when you're trying to relearn how to walk and you have to do that heel toe, you actually have to pick up your foot and heel toe. That was pretty difficult for me. My right side had more difficult than my left side. My left side pretty much picked it up pretty quick, but I ended up really struggling trying to pick up my foot. So I'd walk and then kind of shuffle my right foot. So yeah, that took a while for me to actually be able to walk heel toe without dragging my right foot. So once I was able to walk properly, they switched me over to crutches. And then once I was able to kind of steady with those, then they took me to the stairs. And I had to relearn how to climb up stairs, open doors, you know, just small things that people take for granted. My sister, like I said, who's been in some of my videos, she was there for the entire 2 months that I was in the hospital. So she teaches, and she used all of her vacation, all of her sick time to actually be there with me. There was one weekend where she went to Comic-Con in Seattle that she had already planned before my accident. Tickets were already bought. She was gone for about 4 days on that. But every other day, she was right there in the morning. She would go get food, bring it back, and then stay with me for she would yeah, she was there for the 2 months that I was in the hospital. The one thing that she was missing was 15 days. She did not have 15 days that I was in the hospital that she needed covered. So what the school district actually does is they will actually send out a note saying, hey, this person has some family issues, medical issues, and if you want to provide some of your vacation or your personal time to help this person cover, you can. So a lot of her, I guess, coworkers, if you want to say, within the district provided exactly 15 days that she needed to be there with me. I am very, very grateful to her. I'm not really in debt, but you can kind of say that I feel like I'm indebted to her. So yeah, she was there the entire time I was in the hospital. And yeah, I don't think I would be where I'm at today, physically or mentally, if it wasn't for her. So yeah, I'm very grateful for her. So my release date was March 26th, 2018. I was in the hospital for exactly 2 months. and I ended up doing outpatient rehab for the rest of the year. And I was bound and determined to not have anything else with this accident carry over into 2019. So I pushed myself pretty hard to get rehabilitated back to where I could actually walk normal, get dressed, actually start lifting a little weight. At the end of the year, I was lifting about 15, maybe 20 pounds for my back. So that's a huge plus. So I ended up finishing my rehab, I want to say December 15th of 2019. And that was my goal, was to keep this accident tucked away in 2018. I did not want it carrying over. So, yes, that is my story. This is why all of my hiking videos I do. I don't take for granted my hiking videos, and I don't take for granted being able to walk with my dog, and going out and pretty much enjoying life. I live day to day, and when you go through something like that, it definitely opens your eyes, and you definitely realize what's important to you. And you don't take things for granted anymore. You don't, as they say, sweat the small stuff. You don't, I guess you just don't involve yourself with petty stuff. I know that nowadays I am not as drama orientated as I used to be. That big accident was my drama, and it was going to be the last drama. So this is why I do, like I said, my hiking videos. This is why I am now rating my hiking videos as easy to hard, because I am now disabled, and I am now part of the disabled community, and it's just me. It's just who I am now, and so I live life as normal as I possibly can. So I still, as of today, I still have a little numbness on the outside of my right leg, and this might get a little personal for some of you, but so I have to cath every single day to go to the bathroom, and I have to digistem to go to the bathroom as well. They say that could improve, but they just don't know when or if it would. So I may have to be doing that for the rest of my life. Hence why you always see that backpack. I always have that green backpack with me because that has all of my medical supplies in it that I need. So that's why you see it. And again, that link to that backpack will be down below. So yeah, that is my story. I did have more than just my sister come and visit. I had my entire family fly out to visit me in the hospital. Friends from Denver came down to visit me. My boss actually came down to visit me, who ended up paying 2 months of my rent while I was in the hospital. So that was very, very nice. I will say this, I will add this to it. This past Wednesday, I had to go into another surgery. And that was for my bladder. Now, I can't say for sure if my accident was the cause of this or not. But they did say that because I am a spinal cord injury survivor, that this does happen to some of those people. So I had to go into surgery on Wednesday, and I had ended up with 10 to 12 bladder stones that they had to go in and laser them out. The biggest one they found was the size of a golf ball. So that is huge to have that in your bladders. It now makes sense that on a consistent basis, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. I was waking up 3 to 4 times a night to use the restroom. So now it makes sense that that's what was causing it. I am pretty much back to normal. I feel better physically now that I don't have that to worry about. So that is my story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe below. Make sure to check out my other hiking videos now, because you will see that I do rate my hiking videos from easy, medium to hard for physically disabled people. So now you know why I rate those. Now you know why I do all my hiking videos, because I'm not going to take walking for granted. So check out those videos as well. Make sure to subscribe. And with that, we will talk to you later.